how to play the game of life, what is the ego. So imagine this. All your references to this reality are mental processing. Your body has a thought bot installed and it's always naming things, and then it starts to create a story. Me as an individual, my name is this, and then I go and then I have a relationship to this, and then I have a positive relationship to this, and then I have a negative relationship to that, and I like this and then I don't like that. And so this story starts to get momentum, and then you are non-stop having these thought streams as a part of your operating system of your body. And so the ego is then when we say, okay, so I am this body and this is who I am based on how I reference my reality. Like, I love my friends, I hate my enemies, that's my mom, that's my dad, that's my cat. I love to eat these chips, I don't like this yogurt, okay? So you see there's a bunch of individual references and preferences stored in your data set, yeah? And so this is called also personality, because it's different from one individual to another. However, what we are is consciousness, and consciousness does not have any shape, form, or personality, okay? So what does the consciousness do inside of this vehicle? The consciousness basically is very, it's very baseline of this reality. And when you say me, and when you have this feeling me, that naming me of that beingness inside of you, this is, you're left with that. If I take your head, if I like cut your head, and if I throw away your body, and all of these thoughts defragment, or if you go into a very deep state of meditation, which you can emulate this, right? So going through the death of the personal, death of the ego. And when consciousness is left, the consciousness cannot think, it does not have tentacles, it does not have head, it does not have references to any reality, because there's no reality whatsoever. But then still the feeling of the beingness that you call me, or the I am, is still there, okay? So now the consciousness is embedded inside of this reality simulation. And in the reality simulation, you have the room and you have the avatar, okay, or the street, and many avatars. So that's, okay, there's like a subtle computer working this, and we're seeing the surface of that. So when the consciousness is embedded into an individual body, that consciousness is literally like a camera that you put here, and then it becomes immersed with this. Just like when you put the VRs on, and then you kind of like enter that dimension, whatever is happening inside of your VR. But here, you know, the headset or the computer that is connected to the headset is running a simulation. So consciousness inside of this simulated like spaceship, like your body and the mind, is subtitling whatever is happening. You see how my story is subtitling what's happening here, and your story is subtitling how you woke up and what you had for breakfast and where you want to go next. And all of this mind is automatically giving you like a storyline for your entertainment. And then the ego, sometimes we don't know that we are not the storyline, because it's automatically just describing everything. And then we assume we are the body, because we are immersed in the video game, we are the body avatar. And then we assume that the story is also true. Okay, so note this, like we assume that the story of like my individual reference, my individual data set, like what I had for breakfast this morning, I assume that this is true. And this is where the ego can get pathological, or situations inside of the environment or with other players, other people can get pathological, because in fact, I will show you later how what I remember having for breakfast earlier is just a data reference, so it's not actually true, and I could change the data reference, and that will actually change the past of what I have for breakfast, because that does not exist here. Okay, so everything is very relative in this reality because it's a simulation. So there are different things we take for granted. My linear story is true. This is who I am. My thought stream is describing my personality, and this is who I am. Well, think again. The only thing that is actually true here is consciousness. Now you can change your data set, you can change your behavioral patterns, you can change who you think you are, you can change what you believe is true, and reality, physical manifestation, appearance of your reality, which is a computer rendered simulation, changes. To the effect that you could literally be sitting with a bowl of muesli and you could change that on the level of physical reality by projecting a different version of reality when you know that you are consciousness, okay? So not a person kind of like throwing the muesli out of the bowl and then putting, I don't know, like eggs inside of the bowl and say like, this is a different breakfast. No, without influencing reality on a physical level, but on a pure consciousness influencing the computer level, you have contents of your muesli reappear as a different food. So to that level, reality is simulated, okay? So what do? We take the reference of this reality and the reference of our continuous personality, we take that for some stable reference. That story helps us to be grounded in whatever reality we want to continue investigating. So, of course, we don't need to throw away the ego or the memory or whatever, because it's just giving us a gameplay, okay? But as I said, if we start to not be able to discern that we are actually consciousness observing these thought streams, then we might be trapped inside of game in all kind of loops, and these loops may be like negative karmic loops. So that means like I'm reaffirming some negative storyline in my personal memory, and so I identify with that, and identify with that past, and I identify with what I'm thinking right now about that, and then I'm remanifesting it. Now I'm stuck in a negative feedback loop, and I cannot like fix my reality because I'm so identified that for once like external reality is real, and then what I'm saying to myself about it based on the pre-context, something that I witnessed before, and then I'm convincing myself that that is real. And for me personally, that is real if I choose to continue that feedback loop. But if I simply skip and insert a new thinking paradigm, and I record a new thinking paradigm to my automation, to my subconscious, then reality shifts. You see, so reality is just made of feedback loops that are holographically simulated. Okay, so how can the consciousness influence reality? Because as I say, it's embedded into your avatar, and thought streams, reality processing, and even you walking, breathing, and who are going to bump into, who's going to call you, all of this is decided on a probability level or the computer generator simulator level. Okay, so like even your destiny, like something that's going to happen throughout the day, who you're going to encounter, and how that is going to go, it's not all fixed, but there's a approximated script that is now driving your day, is driving also your thoughts, is driving where you're going to go. And the consciousness, you have one agency here, how you interact with this reality on a gameplay level, okay? You are this awareness, and you can either zoom into something, or you can expand your awareness, or you can zoom into another thing. And so when you're just sitting with yourself and you're thinking about the future, this stream of information will show up on your right side, and you'll be like, let's go maybe, or do I want to go, or do I want to go there later? And your thought streams are on a screen here that's kind of like subtle, so maybe you see these images, or maybe you don't see them if your eyes are open, but let's go to McDonald's, and there's a picture there, and then, but yesterday I had this for breakfast. Your past memories are showing up on the left side of the screen, and your future on the right side of the screen. So you're just automatically prompted by your screen, your mind, and then your consciousness goes there, and it starts to connect these into meaning, into stories, into sequences, okay, of like things to do, or remembering, like, so when I woke up, I stretched, and then I went out, and then I stretched a little bit more, and then I went and had a coffee. And so you can connect this into sequences of meaning, which now create linear continuity, where it's like a storytelling, okay? And through storytelling, then you can also interpret sequences of events in your life that create your understanding, okay? So all of it is pre-automated, like how your memory works, how your mind works, how even reality is going to happen. All of that is automated by the simulator, because you are just consciousness. You can just follow these streams of information. And what you can also do, you can decide to reserve your awareness and look what's happening inside of your timeline. Okay, like look what's happening around you. And then do not play into that. Or then look what your mind is thinking and don't play into that. So you can basically zoom in into something, and then you start to, like, I zoom in and my mind starts to project like what I know about this object and about these letters, and it starts to create a feedback loop with whatever I'm zooming in. Yeah. And then I can zoom out, I can let that go, and the mind relaxes this projection of information that I have previously accumulated about this object or similar objects. So the meaning and that we give to objects, we give by analyzing them or actually focusing into them. But if you just relax your awareness, in the awareness there's emptiness. And the more you actually choose the emptiness and the pure awareness, the less mind you have. The mind goes like all the way in the circumference, and your kind of like head, your screen becomes empty of thought, empty of meaning. And this might be scary a little bit. And I could also explain why this is scary to the ego or to the programs, but I will choose not to go into this right now. If you want to know, like, drop me a comment or something, I can do another video. So yeah, the emptiness, let's just say it might feel like a little bit scary because it's dull and it's nothing going on there, and there's no meaning. So the mind cannot reference the emptiness. And the mind usually wants to create linear sequences of stories or whatever meanings. So in the emptiness, it feels lost. Okay, because the consciousness, the pure self, your pure consciousness without the screen, this is death of you as a person. But nobody dies, because you can reactivate the mind. You can start giving meaning to whatever. Oh my God, these are so evil scissors. Oh my God, they're trying to kill me and eat me. Oh my God, let's fight them. Or, oh, thank you, scissors, for showing up for me today here. I will use you to make a paper plane or something. You're my favorite tool. So, if you remain as consciousness, the ego will be like sleeping, actually, because there's no death. This death, if we are in a physical, like, three-dimensional reality and we see people die and they're not here anymore, well, what? If that consciousness didn't have use for that body or for that data set anymore. So it zoomed out and then it dissolved the body. But it may carry over your data set into another body. And that's your reincarnation type of thing. Like, so I have this data set, but my body I didn't maintain, so it's now really old. So I'm just gonna carry over the data set into a new body and then continue playing. Okay, and it's all the bodies are individuals and data sets are individuals. We call them souls. Like your personal individual data set, it's your soul, it's your personality. But that's a data set, because consciousness that's experiencing Your data set, my data set, it's all one consciousness, just creating more cameras, more perspectives. So now that you know that you can only actually hold your awareness or retrieve your awareness from interacting, or zoom your awareness, and then if you zoom and choose a thought stream, then the body automatically starts to walk towards that, talk about that. This happens automatically. Oh my, this is a brush marker. Let me show you how I write my name in the air. I'm very crafty with this. Right? So body automatically uses the pencil. It's an automated sequence of behavior that you have practiced before, that you have recorded. Right? Body automatically talks about something whenever your mind enters that thought stream. But mind is like a radio station, so you can go into higher frequency, lower frequency, all these frequencies. You can choose different loops or streams, of information, and then you can start to ground them in. Let's talk about football. Let's talk about quantum physics. Let's talk about video games. Let's talk about crypto. Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about music. Let's talk about art. So you're just everybody's like this actually module that's processing information, your mind. Okay, but you are conscious, so your only way to interface, and I'm saying this again and again and again, and now I will choose you how this is like magical when you can quantum shift the entire reality. Because when you know how to rest as consciousness, and basically maybe your mind has so many tabs open that it's not easy for you to just stay as consciousness like for extended period of meditation, whatever. But if you can recognize it for 1 second and you can stretch it for 2 seconds, the space appears from which you can change the channel of reality, because consciousness is projected in this reality simulation, but it's also outside. You're outside. This reality is not real to you. Okay, so what am I saying? So for example, I play a game of life and then I get into a situation where like a shark is going to eat me, or the police have arrested me, or whatever. I get into something that went out of control, click back into pure consciousness, and the timeline just dissolves, like there's no shark, like there's no police. It's like literal quantum shift reloading of this timeline that you're experiencing, because whenever you're stuck in your reality karmic loop, it's a feedback loop. So if you're re-identifying with the story that you're telling about this pencil, okay, then consciousness is immersed with the physical reality, is re-experiencing this as real. It's immersed. Now you don't have ability to shift this because you are holding to it, whether this is a physical object or a story about something that happened to you yesterday and it's gonna keep happening. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because you're actually just re-subscribing into the same feedback loop by thinking about what happened to me yesterday and then speaking about how that happened. I'm gonna just recode that in the loop of reality. I'm gonna re-experience it. If I change the story without any continuity, like linear sense of what happened yesterday need to be my experience. Like I expect you guys to be the same, or I expect this pencil to be the same. So you can shift you can switch the channel from here, from this space. And you're actually doing that all the time, or to a degree, because your mind processes so many streams of information, you don't even notice how some tab that you open mentally and something that you converse about happens later in your life, because you already moved through like a billion thought forms and a billion tabs of information. So you really don't see that something that you have said, something that you have imagined is actually going to be physicalized in your experience. You only notice it where it happens simultaneously, like the thought that you're having right now manifests outside of you, and you're like, oh, I was just thinking about that, or I just said that and now it's happening at the same time. We call it synchronicity because you are closing the gap or the latency of what usually happens when you're having like a billion gazillion thoughts. All of these billion gazillion thought forms, they're being queued up and then they're being inserted in your timeline render by the simulator, and just the order of them is a bit random or generic because the simulator is choosing how to connect everything for you, so it's building your timeline automatically. So it's not that everything manifests instantly, but if you don't have things queued up, if you're sitting as consciousness like half of a day and you're just sipping some tea, and then the first thought that comes to you and the first thing that appears outside of you will be in synchronicity. So when you're having less thoughts, less immersion, reality subscription, mind streams all the time, then your manifestation seems more instantaneous because there's no things queued up. Okay, so let's just revise this. Why do we talk about reality simulation? Your consciousness can zoom in, zoom out, because the thought streams that the conglomerate of thought streams and information that we call the ego, they're relative. They're something that you recorded before, some belief, some interaction with reality where you have created a idea about this is who I am in relationship to this, or this is who I am in relationship to you, in relationship to different contexts, people, objects. You have memory now, which is cool. And if this memory is serving you, you can always pick up this object and continue having a beautiful relationship with this object. But then you might be having objects in your life like that scare you, or people, or concepts, or types of relationships that you feel, I don't know, for whatever reason, some kind of inadequacy or disappointment. And if you continue believing that this is you, then you don't have the power to change this. But if you know your consciousness, you can tell your subconscious, release this information or structure it in a different way, so that when I wake up tomorrow, my relationship to these objects or these people is one of and then you replace with like something that you imagine that feels nicer. Okay, so let me give you an example here. Someone I know, okay, used to complain about their boss, how they're always getting they're not being treated with like respectfully or whatever, right? I'm like, okay, but just let that go and imagine that person just honoring the fuck out of you and just like giving you even a raise. But now my friends at that point, they were identified with their story, so they were like, yeah, but no, I can't just imagine that because that's not true. The true thing that's happening is that this person is very mean to me, and they continue being mean to me, and now I started to hate them for it, and now I'm actually angry with them, and they're so bad, and now I'm gonna be bad to them because I don't like them. You see? Okay, so this is the ego. Okay, because for the ego, I am this body experiencing that relationship. For the ego, this is real. But then it keeps on manifesting the same scenario. And if it's a negative one, then you never get honored and you never get a raise. But if you change as consciousness, if you can accept that this whatever was is not even real. So this is actually forgiveness. So it's not about, oh yeah, you're mean to me, but I'm going to like pardon you. No, it's like I'm going to imagine you being really nice to me. And then there's no other way. You need to show up and be really nice to me. This is how reality works. And now you can apply this to whatever relationship, whether to a pencil, whether to a person, whether to how much you are worth of like getting paid. Okay, you can imagine just all the people paying you 5 times as much, and of course you doing your work, like if you're doing like some kind of quality work, and you can just imagine a different. You need to imagine, because you're now giving your subconscious through pictures information that it's going to remember, and your subconscious right now has automation of previous information. So you can switch up these feedback loops by reimagining them. That's the whole point, okay? The mind, even the physical reality, even the history of your personal story, they are organized information that are not necessarily real. They appear real in your experience, and you are author. You're the author. Okay, you can switch up whatever you want. The only thing you cannot switch up is my individual thought bot. Okay, and if you're sending these, like I'm going to pay you 5 times as much, and I don't want to accept that in my programming, then you can just make it transpersonal and just invite other people who are going to pay you 5 times as much. And like if you're, I don't know, somebody okay, so yeah, I said if somebody's like being a hater and you imagine them being lovely to you, and maybe this happens once, but they're predominantly a hater, and so you're going to imagine them, and once they're going to be really nice to you, but they're going to default into their programming and then be a hater all the time. So then just avoid these people, and imagine yourself having new people around that are fun. Just to add that. Okay, enough said, huh?